I want God to be amazed by my faith and not by my lack of faith. And I wanted to share this with you today. So God showed to me 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 11 through 13. And while I was reading this, God has been a huge impact, especially during my adolescence. And I was always good at reevaluating myself, looking inside myself and seeing how can I do better, how could I always improve. And this verse just got me where I had to just stop and I just had to pray to God and say, God, you're showing me something. Guide me, please. And let's read here. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part. Then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. Amen. As soon as God revealed those three words to me, faith, hope, and love, I just had to say, God, what do you want me to learn? What do you want me to find, God? And so I started reading the Bible. I started praying to God. And this is what he shared to me. Faith specifically jumped out at me. What is faith? What is it defined by? It's defined by our character and how we use that faith. Faith is to believe in something, is to have full confidence in that belief. And without a doubt that faith cannot be shaken. That's where hope lies. And more appropriately, in Hebrews chapter 11, I'm going to read to you many verses from Paul and how we can use that faith in action. And while I'm reading, I'm going to stop and break down certain characteristics, character traits that we see. Because Paul walks all throughout the Bible talking about people using their faith in action. And this is what it says. Now faith is confidence in what we hope for, an assurance about what we do not see. This is what the ancients were commended for. By faith we understand that the universe was formed at God's command, so that what is seen was not made out of what was visible. By faith, here's the first example. Abel brought God a better offering than Cain did. By faith he was commended as righteous. And by faith Abel still speaks, even though he is dead. That characteristic to me is trust in God. Abel trusts God that everything that he was given, he offered it back up to God. He said, God, you only deserve the greatest. I trust in you in that. I trust in the things that I receive because they truly came from you. Trusting in God is a part of Abel's faith. And as we go on, here's another example. By faith, Enoch was taken from this life so that he did not experience death. He could not be found because God had taken him away. For before he was taken, he was commended as one who pleased God. Because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. And if you notice, God is commending these characters of faith, that he believed God and pleased him in his belief. And as we go, by faith, Noah, when warned by things not yet seen, he has yet not seen these things, but we're told, in holy fear, he built an ark to save his family. By his faith, he was commended, and the world and became heir of the righteousness that is in keeping with faith. By faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. By faith, he made his home in promised land like a stranger in a foreign country. He lived in tents, as did Isaac and Jacob, who were heirs looking forward to the city with foundations, whose architect and builder is God. And by faith, even Sarah, who was past childbearing age, was enabled to bear children because she considered his faithfulness who had made the promise with God. And so from this one man, and he as good as dead, came descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as countless as the sand on the seashore. All these people were still living by faith when they died. They did not receive things promised. They only saw them and welcomed them from a distance, admitting that they were foreigners and strangers on earth. People who say things show that they are looking for a country of their own. If they had been thinking of the country they had left, they would have had the opportunity to return. Instead, they were longing for a better country, a heavenly one. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, and he has prepared a city for them. And as we look at just those few examples, I'm going to continue, but just looking at those few examples and looking at how they risked it all. They left their comfort to surrender everything to God. They believed in the promise of God. Although they did not see it, they followed him. That is faith without seeing the outcome. They believed in the promise. They didn't need to see it. And so it says, even there, it says they died in faith. Because although they did not see their promise, they knew that God had prepared a city for them. God had already prepared. They had the trust in God, that God, you already have something great out there for me. They knew that here on earth they were foreigners, but strangers here to this land. That there was a beautiful city being built in heaven. And that is why God was not ashamed to be called their God. And as we continue, by faith, Abraham, when God tested him, offered Isaac as a sacrifice. He who had embraced the promises was about to sacrifice the one and only son that God had given him. Even though God had said to him, it is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned. Abraham reasoned that God could even raise the dead. And so in a manner of speaking, he did receive Isaac back from the dead. By faith, Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau in regard to their to their future. By faith, Jacob, when he was dying, blessed each of Joseph's sons and worshipped as he leaned on the top of his staff. To the very end of his life, he prayed over them in faith because he knew the God that he worshipped. By faith, Jacob, when he was dying, by faith, Joseph, when his end was near, spoke about the exodus of the Israelites from Egypt and gave instructions concerning the burial of his bones. By faith, Moses' parents hid him for 3 months after he was born because they saw he was no ordinary child, and they were not afraid of the king's etiquette. By faith, Moses, when he had grown up, refused to be known as the son of Pharaoh's daughter. He chose to be mistreated along with the people of God rather to enjoy the fleeting pleasures of sin. He regarded disgrace for the sake of Christ as of greater value than the treasures of Egypt, because he was looking ahead to his reward. By faith, he left Egypt, not fearing the king's anger. He persevered because he saw him who is invisible. By faith, he kept the Passover and the application of blood, so that the destroyer of the firstborn would not touch the firstborn of Israel. By faith, the people passed through the Red Sea as on dry land. But when the Egyptians tried to do so, they were drowned. By faith, the walls of Jericho, after the army had marched around them for 7 days. By faith, the prostitute Rahab, because she welcomed the spies, was not killed with those who were disobedient. And what more shall I say, Paul says. I do not have time to tell you about Gideon, Barak, Samson, and Jephthah, about David and Samuel and the prophets, who through faith conquered kingdoms, administered justice, and gained what was promised, who shut the mouths of lions, quenched the fury of the flames, and escaped the edge of the sword, whose weakness was turned to strength, and who became powerful in battle and rooted for foreign armies. Women received back their dead, raised to life again. There were others who were tortured, refusing to be released so that they might gain an even better resurrection. Some faced jeers and flogging, and even chains and imprisonment. They were put to death by stoning. They were sawed in two. They were killed by the sword. They went about in sheepskin and goatskin, destitute, persecuted, and mistreated. The world has no worthy of them. The world was not worthy of them. They wandered in deserts and mountains, living in caves and in holes in the ground. They were all condemned for their faith. Yet none of them received what had been promised, since God had planned something better for us, so that only together with us would they be made perfect. So, I share with you those examples that Paul clearly had about characters of faith in action. Throughout the Bible, you can find the character of faith in action. Whether it be through trust. And what is something that challenges our trust in God? Doubt. Whether it be our surrendering in all His wisdom. We know He is all-powerful, all-knowing. But we have sometimes rely more on our comforts than being able to surrender it all. We need to make sure that we stay focused on God's promise. When God promises something, we know that He completes it. Through His word, we know. As believers in Christ, we know. But sometimes that focus can get distracted by earthly things. Also, we need to realize God's promise over our lives. Because sometimes we are satisfied with our promises, with what we have, instead of looking to something greater. That we're comfortable where we're at, instead of testing our limits, pushing through and trusting on God, having faith that God has something greater out there for us. And above all these character traits, confidence. When you see a person leading in confidence, for some reason we just end up trusting them, right? Because we say, wow, how can they lead with such confidence, such boldness? And that is how we are to be with our faith. That we lead knowing that our faith is founded on God, His Word, and His promises. And I have 3 steps here for all of us. And then I want to share with you something that just rose up in my heart. 3 steps. Like I say, it's called the 3 P's. Prepare. Church, we need to prepare ourselves. Church body, we need to remove anything in our hearts that are keeping us back. We need to dive into the Word and look unto God and say, God, I am ready. Make sure that your bag is packed, that your sword is drawn, because the enemy is afoot and we need to be prepared for it. Step 2, pray. The biggest of these is prayer. We need to be in constant communication with our general, with our God. We need to be speaking to Him. We need to be trusting in Him. We need to be receiving back from Him. That is how we are able to make sure our faith stays in Him. And step number 3, I believe, is the hardest one. Persevere. It is easy to be in a good place, to be in good financial status, to have a good job, a beautiful working relationship with your family, with your friends, and do all these things. But as soon as trials, as soon as the enemy tries to enter into your heart, that is when you need to guard it most. I know the higher you climb, the harder you fall. The more the enemy wants to pull you away from God's promise. He wants to show you all of the things that he can offer. But that's why we need to understand, church, that this earth here, although it has beautiful things that God has made something greater for us. That sin has entered into this world, but God has some place that is holy, that has no sin, that he is there, and we can be there with him, enjoying for not 1 year, not 5 years, not a lifetime, an eternity in his presence.
Amen. Amen.
Among one another. And so I look at these verses and especially focus on the last one. It talked towards the end, talked about everything they suffered, all these people of the Bible, how they suffered here on earth. But I love the final verse. It encouraged me. It put everything that they suffered through, and it just lifted me up. It encouraged me so much. And I'm going to repeat it once more. It says, God had planned something better for us, so that only together with us would that be made perfect. Perfect, church. God is perfect. There's no doubt about it. He's got a perfect plan. His love is perfect. It never runs out. It's for each and every one of us. Even those who have sinned. Even when we look at the sinners, he loves them. Because that's how perfect his love is. And so I say, God, I want to be like that. I want to have faith like that. I want to put my faith into action. God knows my heart, and he knows all of your hearts. And let me share with you what my heart kind of is. I can prepare. I can say, God, I'm prepared for anything. Anything and anything. Throw it at me. I can take it any day, anytime, anywhere. Show me the opportunity, and I can do it. And on this mountain that God has given me, this mountain that I just humble myself and I'm ready for anything, I fall short. And it's on the action part. I got the faith down, but the action isn't there. And you know how I know this? Because time and time again, I watch movies. I don't know about you guys, but I love movies. But out of all the movies I watch, there's one specific type of movie that I just love. And that's where there's the hero. That one person who's going to save the day at the end. Who's going to get the girl, save the world. Everyone's going to praise him. Everyone's going to be happy for him. And he's going to be like, no sweat. It was easy. I was prepared for it. I was ready. I just did it. I didn't even hesitate. I just knew I had full confidence. I had trust in my abilities. I knew I was going to do it. And the favorite part about that type of movie that I like is when he's face to face with the big bad guy, the head honcho, the main antagonist, who's going to go against the whole movie, who's made everyone's lives miserable. Who's going to go face to face, right there, breathing in his airspace, looking in his direction. He's going to look at him and say, hey man, you're going down. That's right. And then the bad guy's got something up his sleeve. He's got an ace in the hole. He says, oh no, I got a trap door. Oh no, I'm going to kick this guy to the curb. He thinks he can stay on that confidence. Oh no, he's going down. This good hero guy playing this act, he's not going to make it. Because I got something up my sleeve. And everyone's watching. Everyone's watching. You know, the damsel in distress. You know? Got all the kids. Here's all kids. Oh, there's daddy. There he is. He's going to do it. He's going to show that bad guy what it is. And then they're like, they see the ace in the hole come out from the bad guy. The bad guy pulls the lever. The trapdoor falls. Everyone, gasp. Even me in my seat watching the movie. Oh, no. The hero, he's supposed to win. It's not supposed to be like this. Everyone gasps. And then for some odd reason, the hero isn't falling. For some odd reason, the hero actually jumped just in time and jumped onto solid ground. Was able to conquer the last ace in the hole, the last sleeve that the enemy had, he was able to overcome it. And everyone's just like, what? Their jaws just literally dislocate and fall on the floor. That's what mine does, at least. It literally falls on the floor like, all rationale, all reason of the movie. He should have fallen. No, that didn't. No, wait. How did that happen? All reasons thrown out the window. The hero says, what else do you have, enemy, to stand against me? What else do you have to stand against the fate that I have? And I say, wow, I want to be like that. I want to have the faith, but then I want to have that action part too. I want to leave everyone in awe, right? And God said, well, how many times have you been leaving people in awe? And I stopped and I say, well, I want to get people's fame and everyone to like me, and I want to get the girl and the family and all that good stuff, you know? It's like, yeah, but remember the verse I just shared with you about what do you have better than all that? It's with God. So Kyle, who do you want to impress? Do you want to impress these people, or do you want to impress me? The one who gave you all these things. I said, God, I want to make you impressed. I want to make you drop your jaw. I want to make you amazed at what I am. I want to make you proud and not ashamed of me and my faith that you have bestowed upon me. This mountain that you have given me and blessed me with, these talents that you have given me. I don't want to keep it to myself. I want to share it for your sake, for your will, for you. I want to give it back to you. But I want to make you proud of it. Let me tell you, it's the same feeling I get when I give my daughter, Ariella, 3 years old, a picture, a blank piece of paper, and she draws a beautiful picture. And I say, daughter, I am so proud of you. That feeling like, wow, I want God to feel like that towards me. Like, I gave you nothing, but you made something out of it. You made something great out of it. And so I dived right back into the Bible. God, how do I amaze you? How do I get you awed? How do I make you proud of me above all things? And I found 2 instances in the New Testament, and I almost chuckled at the 2 instances that I found where Jesus was amazed by somebody here on earth during his walk. 2 parts, and I want to share with you those 2 parts because I think you'll think it's pretty interesting as well. So the first part is found in Luke chapter 7, verses 1 through 10. And I'm going to just read it quickly and just explain it later. And this is what happens. This is when Jesus, he is walking through, he's coming into this land, right, with followers, people following him. And when the Bible says follow, that means that they're listening. They weren't just watching. They weren't just on their phones. They weren't just eating. They were listening contently, okay? He entered Capernaum. There a centurion's servant, whom his master highly valued, who was sick and about to die. The centurion heard of Jesus and sent some elders of the Jews to him. Painting the picture, Jesus is entering a town, and a centurion, highly valued Roman ranking officer, has a servant he sees sick and says, has a servant who he sees sick. And he says, wait, Jesus is in town? Wait, the Jesus? The Jesus? Thy Jesus? Jesus, the one and only? I need to get his attention. So you know what he does? He doesn't go out there. He doesn't do that. He sends out elders, wise men, wise Jewish men to go speak to Jesus. And this is what happens. To ask him to come and heal his servant. When they finally came to Jesus, they pleaded earnestly with him. This man deserves to have you do this because he loves our nation and has built our synagogue." So Jesus went with them. So he heard them out. He heard his story. He went with them. When he was not far from the house, when the centurion saw him and sent his friends to say to him, "Lord, please do not trouble yourself, for I do not even deserve to have you come under my roof. That is why I did not even consider myself worthy to come to you. But say the word, and by my servant will be healed. For I am a man under authority, with soldiers under me. I tell this one, go, and he goes, and that one, come, and he comes. And I say to my servant, do this, and he does it." When Jesus heard this, he was amazed. He was amazed at him, and turned to the crowd following him and said, "I tell you, I have not found such great faith, even in Israel." Then the men who had been sent returned to the house and found the servant well. That's one instance. And what was Jesus amazed of? This man's faith. Not just his faith, his faith in action, his character, his confidence that God could heal. He trusted God. He trusted that his servant would be healed. Because let me tell you this, church. When I read that, and I thought, a centurion did this. Isn't he Roman? He's not even a part of Israel, the chosen people of God. He had greater faith than anyone in Israel. And not only that, Jesus actually said it to people who were listening, to all those around him. I said, wow, I want to be like that. I want to amaze Jesus with my faith. To have him say that to other people, to where I don't need to say, "Hey, my faith is amazing, check me out." No, Jesus will do it for you. Don't worry about that. Just continue at where you're doing. Continue where you are. Being humble. Not trying to show it off in the streets, your faith. No, just having that one-on-one with God. Having that faith with God. And saying, "God, I'm doing your work." And so, I bring you to the second group of people who amazed Jesus. Second instance, Jesus was amazed. And this is found in Mark chapter 6. This is going to be in verse 4. And it's going to be a few verses till verse 6. It says this. So I'm just going to paint the picture so you guys know. So Jesus had come back to his hometown, right? He had come back to visit his family probably, with his disciples, with his followers, and he had already done some of his ministry. And coming back, all the people of the town came to receive him. Say, "Hey, good to see you again. Hey, Jesus, how you doing?" And then, this is what it says. Actually, I'm going to read it in verse 3. This is what the group of people said. "Where did this man get these things?" They asked. "What's this wisdom that he has been given? What are these remarkable miracles he is performing? Isn't this the carpenter? Isn't this Mary's son and the brother of James, Joseph, Judas, and Simon? Aren't his sisters here with us?" And they took offense at him. They looked at him not in, "Wow, look at all the great things he's done." No. They said, "Isn't that little old Jesus over there? Who's good for nothing, who didn't do anything, he's just a carpenter. How could he be having all this authority and doing all these miracles?" They took offense to him. They were offended about Jesus doing these things. And you know what Jesus said? "A prophet is not without honor except in his own hometown, among his relatives, and in his own home." He could not do any miracles except lay his hands on a few sick and heal them. He was amazed at their lack of faith. Those are the two instances I found in the New Testament where Jesus was amazed. One on a centurion, not even here in Israel, that just put his faith to action, to ask but a simple favor from God, from Jesus. "Please just heal my precious servant. And I'm not even humble to see you, Jesus. My house isn't even worthy enough for your presence. And then there's the other side of it. When Jesus is just so amazed at our lack of faith. You know I'm capable of all these things, and yet you feel offended by me? You feel like I'm not worthy enough? That I can't even have any of these things? Like, is that what you think about me? So in what ways are we putting Jesus in? Are we putting him in a box? Are we putting, by our lack of faith, restricting some of what God wants to do through us? Is that what we're doing? Or are we putting God in the forefront of our faith? Or are we leaning on our own faith? And so, in closing, I just want to summarize all this. Faith in action is all throughout the Bible. So as an example, we too need to act upon our faith that God has given us. Looking at all the characteristics, each person shared different points of their faith, whether it be trust, surrendering, persevering, being confident, having a focus, being able to pray, having that relationship with God, having all those things, they were able to put their faith into action. And in that, we are able to look into ourselves and say, how is our faith characterized? And that's where we need to seek in ourselves, in that reflection in the mirror. As a child, we acted as a child. But when we became adults, we put that behind us and we look ourselves in the mirror and we reflect on what we are. We look at ourselves face to face. Okay? And so in that faith, we build ourselves up. We build that mountain and then acting upon it. Seeing as how the people in the Bible, without them acting on their faith, where would we be? Where would we be today? And I challenge you today, and I encourage you, above all I encourage you, because the hardest thing to do is persevere, especially in this world, especially when we do not see the end product of our promise. We need to believe in it. We need to trust that God's got our back. And in doing that, God's going to be proud. He's going to say, that's my son. That's my daughter right there. And they're acting, I'm amazed. It's going to be in that time. It's going to be dark. Doves are flying. The movie's out there. Everyone's watching. And you're face to face with the enemy, the devil. And he's got every single thing up his sleeve trying to pull you down. But you look at something greater. Because God's watching you too. Say, God, this is for you. I'm going to make you proud right here. The enemy's got me, but I know I got something greater. I might die right here, but I know I got something greater later with you in your presence for all eternity. And everything I've done behind me, all my whole past, the things I might be ashamed of, and the things I might be proud of, the family I might leave behind, I want you to know, God, it's all for you. Because I made a stand. I made a covenant, a promise with you, God, that I am going to give it all to you. I'm going to lead by you. I'm going to follow you, God. And that's the kind of person I want to be. And that's the kind of person I challenge you to be. Might not be specifically like me. You might like something different. But that's okay, because God knows your heart. He knows you through and through. He knows how to set things up in your life as opportunities for you. And as though we might look at things as a negative light, meditating it with God, we can find out what He truly has for us. As a statement, I want God to be amazed by my faith and not by my lack of faith. Amen. Thank you, church.